Morning.
Buenos dias.
What is the next victim's name?
It's an awesome spectacle.
So we meet this guy, Lane Meyer, who wakes up to try out for his high school ski team. And you can tell he's nervous because he takes a shower with his socks on. Well, either that or he sucks at doing laundry.
He must be brain damaged.
You look pretty stupid to me.
Even though he's clearly in a hurry, his dad figures that this is the best time to talk to him about the car he bought a while ago, but just parked in the lawn, making them look like they're white trash.
He is trash! Trash! Trash!
On the way to pick up his girlfriend, Lane bumps into these brothers who want to drag race him, but unfortunately, Lane was in reverse and backs into this giant guy Rocco who wants to beat him up for slightly dinging his beater of a truck.
Kiki's ass.
We then meet Lane's girlfriend Beth, who Lane is, how do I put this?
Obsessed.
Alright, let's just say that he makes Wonder Woman's shrine to Steve Trevor look normal.
That boy is obsessed. He can't do anything without that girl.
Is he your main wiener man?
But she's already throwing away his picture and replacing it with a picture of a guy who she heard might ask her out. And she only likes him because he can ski a super hard ski slope.
Harry's the only person in Greendale that's ever skied the K-12 from the glacier and lived.
But if that was the case, they wouldn't let anyone go up there. But whatever, she thinks he's hot because of it.
I believe the term was tasty.
But he also might be 38 years old.
I've been going to this high school for 7.5 years.
But once they get to the mountain, it turns out he doesn't even know who she is.
What's your name?
Beth.
Shut up, geek.
So how'd she get the picture of him?
Look, I've told you before, in stories like this, as long as you're attractive, light stalking is considered cute.
God, I never thought of that.
But Stalin does think Beth is cute, so he sabotages Lane's tryout.
Oh, too bad.
And because he doesn't make the team, she dumps him, so now he wants to die.
Yeah, that would be sad.
No, he actually wants to die. But apparently he wants to do it on his terms because he hits Rocco again and doesn't just let him kill him.
And dying when you're not really sick is really sick, you know?
But then he goes home and immediately ties an extension cord around his neck, but then decides it's a stupid idea. But that's when his mom hits him with the door, and he ends up hanging from a pipe while his mom vacuums.
Honey, you're getting all upset over nothing.
He tells his buddy Charles about what happened, and he's like, this is a small town on a huge planet, and she's just some girl, and there are billions more out there.
I don't want to date other girls. I want to date Beth.
But Lane just ignores this idea, and he decides that if he can ski the K-12 too, that Beth will take him back. But then he remembers that he wants to live, and just forgets that idea.
Do you?
Not at the moment.
But he's still all messed up in the morning, and almost eats cat food. But he's saved by the paperboy, who's there to collect.
$2.
So I'm not really sure why he's collecting this early on a school day, or why he thinks Lane needs to pay him, but he really wants to get paid.
Cash.
At school, Charles tells him that he really should try to ski the K-12.
I'm gonna race, I'm gonna lose, and I'm gonna die.
But then everyone's favorite teacher comes over and asks him if it's okay if he asks Beth out, considering that they're not together anymore.
What? Gross.
She's already dating another 40-year-old, so why not give it a shot, right?
Yeah, with his loose skin and old balls. Gross.
So to prove to himself, and a drawing of Beth, that he's a real catch that any girl would love to go out with, he attempts to ask out a girl who already has multiple boyfriends. And I say attempt because he ends up ripping off all her clothes and then getting beat up by the basketball team, who apparently all like eating baby food.
Well, I guess after my mom's cooking, you'll probably be able to tolerate anything.
And when he gets to his car, even though she's dating Roy, Beth still goes out with Mr. Kerber.
Oh, man. What a hunk.
So now he wants to jump off a bridge.
You know, Len, there are better ways of getting attention.
But Charles talks him out of it, and then pushes him off the ledge and into a garbage truck.
Oh, it's a Christmas miracle.
And so they either had school on Christmas Eve like they do in Kingston Falls,
Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas.
or it's a different day, but they go to the K-12 to give it a shot, and we find out that Lane isn't the skier he thinks he is. But Charles is one hell of a coach.
Go that way. Really fast. If something gets in your way, turn.
Inspired words from a man who knows how to ski.
Lane then goes home to open his presents, and his parents must have blew all of their money fixing the garage door from the paperboy breaking all the windows because he only gets TV dinners. So he goes to the garage to get carbon monoxide poisoning.
The car is not a toy.
But he pretty quickly goes back to thinking he can win Beth back and accidentally reverses out of the garage. Well, his dad thinks that he just needs a new girlfriend and sets him up on a date with his law partner's daughter. And he's like, but Dad, she's gross. But then he thinks that she would be lucky to go out with him, so he agrees to go. But when he picks her up, she's like, dude, you're gross. Give me money so I don't have to go out with you. So he writes her a check and goes to the New Year's dance by himself. And apparently nobody else has plans on New Year's Eve because everybody's at this party, including his neighbor Ricky, who even dragged out his foreign exchange student.
Poor creature.
And this is a big deal for Ricky.
He never goes outdoors.
They sit around crocheting all day and snorting nasal spray.
But while the rest of the school watches him make an ass of himself on the dance floor, Monique is able to escape, and Lane leaves when he sees Beth and Stalin slow dancing to upbeat music. The two of them talk for a second, but then Ricky wakes up from knocking himself out and rushes to find her.
But if she goes to the school too, why would he worry about her?
Well, his mom signed up to take in a foreign exchange student in hopes that she'd date Ricky. So because she lives with him, he thinks that they're together, even though she doesn't speak English.
Of course she does.
They sent her to another country when she couldn't speak the language?
But of course I speak English. I speak very good English.
So he rushes over to Monique and Lane to let her know that his mom's picking them up, even though they literally just got there. So she has to go, and I'm guessing he forgot the school had a parking lot because he has to walk through the park to get to his car, and that's when he's confronted by the paperboy again.
$2.
But this time, he brought backup. You know, instead of just asking his parents for the money like a normal paperboy.
I beat you!
So all these paperboys are chasing him to his car, and when Lane gets home, instead of explaining the situation to his dad and having him pay the kid,
$2.
he acts weird, making his dad think he's on drugs. So hoping that he'll straighten out if he stays busy, his dad gets him a job at a fast food restaurant, but it's owned by the guy that he hit with his car a couple times. Apparently this is how they're planning on paying for the damages. But who would want to work for a boss that already hates you?
I want to break your goddamn neck!
And this isn't the type of place that you would ever want to eat anyway. The conditions are not very sanitary.
You wash your hands on your own time, boy. Now get to work.
But he pretty much immediately gets fired after daydreaming about Frankenstein rock and roll hamburgers. And to make matters worse, Rocco throws him out in front of Beth and Stalin.
Man, now that's a real shame when folks be throwing away a perfectly good white boy like that.
So he goes back to the K-12 to regain some confidence, but ends up breaking a ski. And now that he thinks he's a total failure, he gets the idea to set himself on fire from a tabloid. After he finds some primer to douse himself with, his mom grabs him to join them and the neighbors for dinner. Since Monique is French, she's made a real insult of a meal.
French fries, French dressing, French bread.
But at least this food is edible. Most of the time it isn't.
It's bacon.
What have you done to it?
You see, it's got raisins in it. You like raisins.
But Mrs. Smith accidentally grabs the primer and pours herself a glass, and she must have a heavy hand behind the bar because she doesn't even flinch when she drinks it. But then she rudely lights up a cigarette in someone else's home and blows up.
Gee, I'm real sorry your mom blew up, Ricky.
So because she's in the hospital, Lane has to drive Ricky and Monique to school. They run into the drag race brothers, and Monique wants Lane to race him.
Does he hit that one guy again?
No, he actually does pretty well, until he has to swerve to miss a bunch of nuns, and ends up in a mud pit.
Looking really good today, buddy. Looking real good.
But Monique had fun, so he tells her about his Camaro that he bought last year, that is so fast but he never fixed up, and how it would blow these guys away that can barely keep up with a station wagon.
You never had me. You never had your car.
So he ends up having lunch with them too, where we see that Ricky is kind of a bully. And Stalin invites Lane to try out to be the new team captain of the ski team, even though he didn't make the team. But when he insults Monique, Lane challenges him to a race on the K-12, even though he can't make it past the first 12 feet. He goes to get a new ski, but the guy who owns the shop doesn't give him much encouragement about his race.
You gotta be a real moron to try to ski that run, you know what I mean?
But when he leaves, the paperboy's on top of his car trying to collect again. He tries to get him off the car by speeding and swerving in traffic, but ends up going through a car wash to finally get him off. I guess killing this kid is easier than asking his dad for $2 in case he bumps into him again.
No, I can't swim!
So when he eventually gets home, he finds Monique throwing lemons. She's mad that Ricky won't keep his hands off her,
Instead, he uses it as a chance to put his testicles all over me.
and reveals that she can actually speak English. She's been faking so she doesn't have to talk to them, and she wants him to keep her secret. In exchange for this, he wakes up to find her working on his Camaro. They end up spending the whole day working on it, and then it dawns on him that he has his race against Stalin tomorrow, and he freaks out. But now that the car works, they go out looking for the drag racers to build up his confidence. And with the way this car looks and runs, it's hard to believe it only cost him $200.
You borrowed $200 from me to purchase the car.
That's $200.
But they find him and beat him so bad that their girlfriends break up with him.
What's your problem, nigga? You didn't win.
They then break into the burger joint for a candlelight dinner. And since they're closed, he apparently brought over some TV dinners, cooked them, and then went to pick her up, and is now serving them cold. He then pulls out his saxophone, because no one is ever uncomfortable when someone pulls out a musical instrument completely unprompted.
Please, don't make me listen to your music.
So it's now the day of the race, and he and Monique go to practice on the K-12 one more time. She goes down the slope, and he's like, shit, if a girl can do it, it's gotta be easy. And then he immediately falls.
All you got to do is go that way, really fast. If something gets in your way, turn.
But then they fart around for a little bit, and eventually the stick that was up his butt slides out, and now he's a completely better skier. But Charles finds him to let him know that they're ready to race. But then he runs over his skis and breaks the toe binding, but he doesn't realize it until they both leave. And that's when the paperboy shows up and starts to chase him on his modified bicycle.
There's something following them.
Stalin's up at the top calling Lane a chicken, but then says,
Oh, Meyer, you don't know when to quit.
When he gets there. They start the race, but Lane has to do the super hard slope with only one ski.
Why don't they just see if he can borrow one from somebody who's there to watch?
Shut up, there's no time. It's either this or confronting a pissed off 8-year-old about a very small amount of money.
I want my $2.
So they're about halfway down the hill, and Stalin steers this kid off a cliff so he can concentrate on the race.
He was just doing his job. He didn't have to kill him.
Oh, he's fine. Apparently falling off a steep cliff doesn't do anything to the human body as long as you land in snow.
That makes sense.
So of course, Lane wins and everybody loves him, including Beth.
Girls will get sterile just looking at you.
But he doesn't want her anymore and looks for Monique. But she's being dragged away by Ricky and his mom, who followed her up there to kidnap her and bring her back to the house.
We've been worried sick.
But Lane stops them, and Mrs. Smith orders Ricky to sword fight Lane with ski poles to decide who gets Monique. But Ricky gets too worked up and ends up tackling his mom.
Oh my God, Ricky's dead. Ricky, are you dead?
So now Lane gets to kidnap Monique. And Ricky's sad for a few seconds, but then another girl helps him up. So now he's completely over Monique and just leaves his mom.
You should not upset Mother.
You know, I don't know what Ricky even sees in you.
And because Monique did all of this for him, he wants to thank her by taking her to Dodger Stadium, where the paperboy finds them while they're parked on home plate.
So this geeky girl likes Ricky, who likes Monique, who likes Lane, who likes Beth, who likes Stalin?
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people realize how much they affect other people's lives. I mean, Beth would have never realized that Stalin was a turd, Ricky would have still been harassing Monique, he wouldn't have a girlfriend, and Lane wouldn't be in a relationship because he'd be, well, dead.
Wait, this is death here.
And all of these things were able to happen because he didn't make a stupid decision when he was upset.
Suicide is never the answer, little trooper.
There is still one more thing I would like to discuss.
Let's see if you have any brains, huh?
You want to subscribe to this channel.
It will never do it. What is this?
My grandmother dropped acid and she freaked out and hijacked a school bus full of penguins. So I gotta go. The Christmas tree's on fire.